Ladies and gents, please indulge us today as we geek out a bit of the old wrestling. Today's guest proves the power and the reach of social media by simply having some fun with something you love. As much as we all love and respect the old professional wrestling, there is nothing more we love than seeing our heroes make absolute idiots of themselves and have a laugh when it all goes wrong. With us today, from his wonderful Instagram page of over 139,000 followers, from WrestleBotch, we have Mr. Ryan O'Connor.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming on. I don't know how many times I tripped up on my own words during that intro. I'm quite impressed I didn't completely balls it up.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. 10 out of 10. Great job. I've interviewed a few wrestlers over the last couple of years of running the WrestleBotch page. And I recorded it with Skype. So I'm a boomer, I guess. And so I'm so bad at interviewing. But with the power of editing, you can chop out all the ums and ahs and make it look like you're, more professional. So I was jealous of that intro is my point, is you got right through that. You didn't have to re-record anything. I like you. Well done.
My new favorite guest.
That's the first of your intros have been applauded there, Jamie.
I know, yeah.
Mr. O'Connor, how has 2020 been for you, sir?
It's been really, really shitty. How about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same, man. Pretty much the same. I don't know if you'd filled in the year with teaching yourself something new, like a language maybe or something.
I actually have I hid it because I didn't want everyone on this to know what a crazy person I am. But behind me, I had a big dry erase board. So in my apartment, because the year has been going so shitty, it sounds like a therapist would recommend this or something. But one thing I was going to do was literally write down all the positive things so that I can look at some of the wins this year versus just focusing on what a shitty year we've had. So I literally had that behind me, but I was moving a bunch of shit around before we started this so that no one knows what a true weirdo I am.
Was it because you only had one thing on there?
Well, it's actually empty, so no. But no, it's been a weird year, I think, for everyone. Just a weird time. I'm living in Los Angeles now too. I've only been here a couple of years. So I was just having a conversation with some buddies. I don't want to get too dark right in the beginning of this, but we were just talking about how fucking crazy can we curse on this, by the way?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
you can.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So we're talking about how fucking terrible the year's been. But in LA, especially, the homeless population is the homeless issue is getting really insane in this city. And yet the rent doesn't really go down. It's a fucked up place to be during all of this, for sure.
Were they not having any furlough schemes or where they stopped the rent for a bit whilst all this pandemic's been going on?
Yeah, they've done a few different things, but it seems like it's usually in the landlords and property owners' best interests at the end of the day. Like they'll temporarily, pause rent or offer a couple of different things here and there. But the general consensus has been that, if you're poor, you're fucked. But today, they just approved a $600 stimulus. So for the last 6 months that everyone in the U.S., people that lost their jobs and all that stuff, they can look forward to that $600, which I'm sure will go a long way to cover 6 months of an absolute shit show.
600?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think in Canada, they've been giving like $5,000 a month or something crazy. So I'm ready to just move to Canada already.
Do it, man. I mean, I think it's obviously because is it president there or prime minister there? What do they have in Canada? Is it president?
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister.
Yeah. I'm assuming that they actually gives a fuck about his people. So, whereas obviously the president you've had for the past 4 years doesn't.
Correct. That would be correct.
Yeah. So it's shit because it shouldn't happen, but it also doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, same. I'm not a political person. I love that we jumped into politics.
Right? Yeah, sorry.
No, it's nice.
It's time it happens.
I don't follow politics, but you can call things when you see them sometimes, and things are really fucked up here right now.
Yeah, I'm just so sorry, man. Really how the pandemic was dealt with and fucking how everything's been dealt with, really.
It's all good. It's it's bad when like not even bad wrestling can cheer you up because like I mentioned, I think before we hit record, the last couple of months, WrestleBotch has sort of been on pause. I was posting almost daily for a couple of years, and the last couple of months have just been I don't want to give a sob story, like, oh, I've been so depressed, posting, haven't had the ability to post bad wrestling. But I think once in a while, just taking a little break from all the social media noise in general is probably not a bad thing.
Mind you, though, Ryan, I think if you want any bad wrestling, your videos will be about 3 hours long on a Monday, 2 hours long on a Friday, because it's been fucking shocking this year.
Yeah. It's been hard for me to even... like I have this issue now where I can't watch wrestling without, I guess the short version is I can't watch wrestling and enjoy it, usually because within 5 minutes, there's something that's like epically bad that I'm like, oh my God, I have to cut this really quick. Even going back to like, I grew up on late 80s and especially 90s wrestling. So when I go on the network and I'm going to watch a Raw from 97 and see what goes on. And then, someone will fuck up their promo beyond belief. And I'm like, oh, I just got to cut this video really quick. And I'm like, Jesus, I can't even get through these shows anymore. I just want to, get out the bad stuff to the masses.
So let's go back to the start of all this. When and how did you discover / become a fan of professional wrestling?
So I have this distinct memory. I was very, very young. So this is when Undertaker first came into WWF. I think it was like 91, right around there. So I was born in 85, so I would have been around 6 years old at the time. And I remember the Undertaker putting a jobber or enhancement talent into a body bag. And when you're channel surfing at 6 years old and you see that, you're like, holy shit, they just fucking murdered someone on TV. Why isn't anyone doing something about this? This is crazy. So I was hooked from there, just like, who is this guy, that's 7 feet tall and just literally murdering his opponents. So I think I caught the wrestling bug from there. And then, fast forward, 6-7 years later, whenever the Attitude Era started and The Rock and Austin, me and my friends, we were in like, I don't know, through the whole Attitude Era, it was like, maybe 6th or 7th grade up into like early high school. I was all in at that time, just a great time to be a fan. And then it kind of tapered off, I guess, like as you get into high school and, maybe start to care about girls and real sports, sports that aren't fake and things like that. But nostalgia is a hell of a drug. As I creeped into my 30s, I'd kind of find myself like going on YouTube and watching old Raws or, watching SummerSlam 92 and shit like that. Yeah, just great stuff. So I guess that being said, I am more of an old school guy, still like, keep up with what's going on. But unfortunately, I'm not the 12-year-old kid, that's needs to watch every single Raw. I'm not going to miss a single minute. It's just not like that anymore. But do have a deep appreciation for the talent nowadays. I think the athleticism is on another level, especially compared to where it was.
Well, I think we have very similar stories when it comes to our love of wrestling, to be honest. Except you can remember how you got into it, because I can't remember how I got into it. I don't remember a part of my life in my childhood where I wasn't watching it, but I can't for the life of me remember how I got into it. Yeah,
it's just one of those things sometimes.
That's awesome.
I mean, I was a late bloomer, whereas I came in 1998 because my uncles were huge fans. And the first thing I remember watching was, I think it was a Raw in August of 98 where The Rock was on commentary and Mankind was fighting the Road Dogg. And the first thing I remember is The Rock just spouting off about something. And he goes, screws The Rock 1 second, runs off and just twats Mankind, comes back and starts talking again.
Yeah, I love it. So good. The Rock was one of the early followers of WrestleBotch. He doesn't comment a lot, but there's been a few times where The Rock has chimed in on the comments and stuff.
No way.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Really good sense of humor, not surprisingly. I guess you follow him on social media and stuff. But we'll post the occasional rock botch, and I've seen him on there before. There's one really great one where he's trying to take off his shirt. At the time, The Rock would always on the mic talk about like his $500 shirts.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what's going on in the ring, some shenanigans that he's trying to get in the middle of, and he can't rip his shirt off. Like he's struggling. Like it just won't come out. I'll have to maybe I'll repost it again today or something. But great little like 8-second clip where like Jim Ross is on commentary, just like going off about, all the craziness that's happened. And The Rock is just like ripping on this shirt, trying to get it over his fist and can't get it. It's a great little clip. But yeah, that whole era, the late 90s, so much fun. Even if some of it maybe hasn't aged super well, the nostalgia is very real.
Yeah, I think they're living on it too much a bit now, though, because obviously that was between 98 and 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Like they obviously keep bringing them superstars back every time because that was the pinnacle. That was the best 4 years of WWF/WWE ever.
Oh,
I feel
totally.
that they keep trying to bring them back every now and again. It's like now you're like, yeah, but I want to see Undisputed Era up in the main roster. I want to see Finn Balor. I want to see AJ Styles. I don't want to see Hulk Hogan come back to talk about something that's irrelevant for half an hour.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
I agree for the most part. I will say I went to Mania the year before last, or the year before this, I should say. And I think it was the Raw the following Monday. We also had tickets for that. So there's like a bunch of us there. And I was always that, I don't know if I'd say outspoken, but at least in friend circles would kind of be like, Jesus Christ, they're bringing The Undertaker out here again.
Yeah.
Guy can barely walk. You feel bad for him. But that being said, when I was at that show and the lights came out and, the Undertaker's music hits, it was a very goosebumps even talking about it. It's what a fucking nerd I am. It's like, it was really special just to see him come out. You're just like, holy shit. I mean, yeah, once he tries to work in the ring, it's maybe a different story. But I think for dudes our age, like when you're at the live show, it is really exciting. And I can see why they bring them back. But you're absolutely right. Like they need to make sure they're well invested in a younger talent. They're the ones that are not going to be in wheelchairs in 3 or 4 years, hopefully.
Well, yeah, fingers crossed. But I mean, obviously, Balor went back to NXT because he didn't want to be on the main roster anymore. The Undisputed Era don't want to come up because they feel they're going to get absolutely buried, which they probably will. I mean, I am 3 months behind because I just can't sit there and be like, I just can't get through the shows anymore. But I will not read the spoilers. I hate spoilers. I absolutely hate them.
So you must be avoiding social media too.
Yes, because obviously TLC was last night. I don't know anything.
Okay, I haven't watched it yet either. So other than some texts from buddies, I don't really know what went on either.
Oh, okay. But
and that's a tricky part about running WrestleBotch is a lot of the more recent clips are generally more prone to issues with like copyright and things like that. So sometimes there can be like a really epic botch and you want to, put it up there for everyone to enjoy, but you're like, this might be the one that finally shuts down the account, which is what happened on the WrestleBotch Twitter. The Twitter account went kaput. But
you stole my question. Yeah, you answered my question before I even asked it. I was going to say, what actually happened to Twitter? To the Twitter?
It was weird. It was all fine one day, and then out of the blue, I got like 97 copyright notices from WWE arm out of India. I think it was like Sony India or something that has some connection to WWE's catalog. And I don't really know how all that stuff works, but it tripped some sort of thing that they had put in place. And I got all those warnings all at once, and then the account was just ripped away. To be honest, though, you know how these social media platforms are built? They're kind of built to keep you on the page. They want you to keep scrolling. I found that the more time that I stay away from Twitter, the happier human being I am. So it's not even with posting bad wrestling, you see like what's trending and you're like, oh, what crazy shit did Trump say? I have to like click on this and see what's going on. And then 45 minutes later, you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Like what complete waste of time. Hopefully I can get that account back sometime. I did submit a couple of kind of generic forms that they have, but and hopefully that doesn't happen on Instagram. So far, so good. But I'd be lying if I said that wasn't also maybe something that made me take a little bit of a break there on Instagram. Was that Twitter account just kind of getting ripped away is a good reminder that can happen any day on Instagram. So, you know, before I spend 2 days editing like a 4-minute video of wrestlers talking about like the dumbest shit in the world, you know, clipping all of them, it's like, hey, that may be time that you never get back, or it's time I'm definitely not going to get back. But, you know, after you post it, is the account going to be dead? I don't know. It's a weird thing that I'm doing.
Yeah, that'd be shit, man. I really hope this doesn't happen. But what inspired you to be like, do you know what would be really fucking cool? Like a massive page of botches.
Well, I knew that Botchamania already existed. Everyone knows Botchamania. It's been literally chanted in arenas for years. So one day I was on like this YouTube, you know, you get caught in the social media vortex. YouTube's really great at the recommendations. So it's like you watch one fuck up and they're like, you know, are you sure you don't want to watch these 27 other fuck ups? And you're like, actually I do. So my point was, I remember knowing about Botchamania, knowing there's all these really like bad wrestling clips out there. Why isn't anyone posting these on Instagram? Instagram's like the perfect platform for really short videos. You know, like, again, we like to scroll through our feeds really quickly. So if it's something that's either like really scary, fucked up, or just laughably bad, like people want to stop and look. So I just kind of thought, well, you know, maybe I'll put 10 or 20 bad clips up, you know, some classic ones, some newer ones, and just kind of see what happens with this page. And I remember on my original bio on Instagram, it was literally like bringing Botchamania's gimmick to Instagram or something like that. So I was going to pretend that I was reinventing the wheel by posting bad wrestling lowlights. And that's literally it. And then it just organically took off. I think, you know, the marketing nerd in me likes to talk about how these social media algorithms work. But when they see that people are spending time on your page, they want to show your posts to other people because it's keeping them on the platform. So I would just continuously post things that I found amusing, that I thought were either funny or like, you know, some of those, oh my God, like a car accident, you can't look away. Or like, what the fuck? Like, did that guy's leg really just like bend 900 degrees in the wrong direction? Like, what's going on there? Exaggeration, of course. But yeah, that was really it. Just doing that. And then organically, 100% organically, it just started to pick up. I remember, you know, we talked about The Rock being on there. I remember seeing Steve Austin followed the account. And I, like a fucking Mark nerd, probably 3 weeks straight, I would double check to be like, did Austin unfollow me yet? You know, just thinking that like maybe he accidentally followed the page, or maybe like his social media manager, social media handler was following a bunch of accounts that they would later unfollow, or, you know, some stupid shit like that. But yeah, that was one of those early signs too, that shit, maybe I am onto something. Like if The Rock and Austin are into it, then maybe other people will be into it as well.
Two of the biggest icons of our generation.
Yeah, pretty rad. I like to pretend they follow for me personally, even though like, oh yeah, those are my boys. You know?
So what I love of your page as well is you've tried to, you know, you're saying, you know, you've done it different to Botchamania, it's on Instagram and whatnot. But I like the fact you've tried to make it your own with like the table fails, the mic skill moments, and with especially love the post about Mondo. So what made you think of doing these? Was it just to make you seem separate, or was it just to try and bring it together as a community?
A little bit of wanting to do something at least slightly different from what everyone else is doing. Because at the end of the day, anyone can post highlights or lowlights. There's nothing like 100% unique about doing that. So putting them in a category is, you know, makes it unique in one way. And also, I think I have like OCD. So when I literally have now thousands of wrestling clips and so many goddamn messages from people, which I'm grateful for, people that send me bad clips. So categorizing them also like maybe relieves some of my OCD. So like, okay, all these involved a table incident going horribly wrong in some way. I can put them all in this category. Or maybe some that don't necessarily have to do with botches per se. Like on Wednesdays, I have one called Wasted Fan Wednesday, just because to me, when a fan jumps the barricade and decides to run in the ring, like we all know how that's usually going to end, they're going to get their fucking asses kicked. But those are the type of clips where you just can't look away. Like it's a stupid ass thing to do. Like, I don't want anyone to think that I'm encouraging it. Like, oh, look at this guy. Like, he's so funny for jumping in the ring. You know, it's usually more funny because of the way it ends. You know, he gets his ass kicked or, you know, security interrupts or whatever. But just doing the Wasted Fan Wednesday hashtag was, okay, I can organize all these clips of these morons that jump the barricade or in some way get into an altercation with a wrestler, like fucking with the Big Show at a bar in 1998, you know, and then getting your clock cleaned. That's a great clip. So I guess the short answer is a little bit of both, to differentiate myself from the other accounts who kind of post bad wrestling, but also to kind of alleviate my OCD and kind of organize all these things in some sort of crazy fashion.
Love it. So obviously we said, you know, the page has grown and grown to the point, you know, you've got so many followers and so many comments on there. I've even seen people commenting, like wrestlers who are in the videos, like you said, The Rock, but even I've seen Dax Harwood comment on there before. And some of the indie guys I've seen comment there. Can you remember like the first time that happened?
Yeah, well, I don't know about the first time, but I remember there's been a few times that stuck out. Everything with The Rock and Austin, just because I grew up in the, you know, on that wrestling in the late 90s. So that's always really special when I see those guys interacting. I'm always like, that's really cool that they have a sense of humor. I remember Rey Mysterio has commented before. One of my favorites, though, was Ricochet. It was like a minor botch. Like he was doing his entrance and like kind of like tumbled over, played it off very nicely, but it was like a pretty funny little clip. And within probably 5 minutes of him making it back to the dressing room, I had that clip up and he was commenting on it, you know, like, oh, I knew you fuckers would get me or something like that. So that was, I love seeing shit like that. Just the thought that can happen so quickly and that these guys can literally pick up their phone and it can pop up in front of them. It's pretty funny. I also have to be careful with that too, because I don't want to necessarily broadcast murders on my page. So, you know, if someone gets really hurt, I do like to, especially indie guys that are doing fucking quadruple moonsault off a 10-story building through a stack of 10 tables, where you're like, maybe that guy, maybe I should make sure he isn't dead before I put this out to 100,000 plus people. So using a little bit of discretion there too. But yeah, I love when the current WWE or AEW guys chime in there on the comments. Jericho has been in there a few times too, which is always really cool.
The GOAT.
Yes,
the GOAT.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Have you ever had people like threaten you or get really shitty?
Yes and yes. My favorite, I like to think he was maybe fooling around, or maybe I just say this to myself to make myself feel better about someone threatening to murder me. But I posted it, and I don't even think it was a bad New Jack clip. I don't know if you guys are familiar with New Jack from ECW.
Yeah.
He had it. If you're not, you got to watch the Dark Side of the Ring episode about New Jack. Is fantastic. But yeah, I don't remember what I posted, but New Jack was in the clip. And I totally remember now. So what happened was New Jack was in the clip, but it wasn't like a New Jack botch. It was something else happening. But of course, I posted on Twitter, and I had fucked up his handle, you know, botching my own post, which happens all the time. So I tried to tag him in it, which I never do unless it's a something that's not, I don't like to tag the wrestlers in bad clips. Like, so maybe like I have this hashtag on Sunday called Supercell Sunday, where it's like just kind of funny oversells.
The best.
So it maybe it was like New Jack doing something to Devon Dudley, and he, you know, Devon doing his classic ridiculous oversells, something like that. Something that made it seem like it's okay to tag New Jack in this. He might even want to retweet it. That was not the case. So he replied with a photo of him holding a knife to his throat, saying something like, "This is going to be you," or something like
Jesus
that.
Christ.
Yeah, so I was like, oh shit, maybe I will not tag New Jack on anything in the future. I don't know if he has someone helping with his social media now, but I did have a very nice message from New Jack like a month or so ago, where it said something like, "Oh, you're the shit," because I posted some other, on Fridays I do a fuck kayfabe Friday hashtag, where it's just crazy shit. No one has to get hurt. It doesn't have to be a botch, but it has to be like a whoa, what the fuck was that type move. So I posted a few, you know, what the fuck, actually in these people did. New Jack's opponents maybe didn't fare super well, but they're notorious New Jack clips that have been floating around for years. So I just kind of did like this compilation or like swipe posts of New Jack. And he had messaged me something like, you know, got a bunch of new followers after that post. Thanks a lot. You guys are the shit or something. So I'm like, awesome. Either he forgot that he was threatening to kill me like a few months ago, or maybe he has someone else handling his socials. I don't know. But there has been one of those. There's maybe like, it's really weird. So I hate to name names, but fuck it. Let's have some fun. Jimmy Yang, WCW guy, was there like right before they went out of business in the early 2000s. Has a couple of funny like botches and a couple of funny oversells. And I always think to myself before I post these, especially if it's like an obscure kind of like, okay, we're talking 2000 WCW, a guy who was there for like a year, didn't really do much after, I can safely post this botch. And there's probably a good chance he's not going to see it, or like at the very least, you know, I'm not going to tag him like an asshole. I swear to God, like anytime I think that, within like 4 minutes, like there's 27 people tagging the person in the comments, like, "Hey, dude, look at this." And I'm like, you didn't have to snitch on me, bro. And I don't know how serious he was, but he posted some like, you know, fuck off type comments, which is fair, you know, whatever. And so I tried to kind of play back and be like, you know, I don't even remember what I said, but something playful and fun and like, you know, hey, we like to have fun around here, not trying to bust balls. And he's probably thinking like, yeah, after, you know, 900 of your commenters have been like sending me messages about this one bad clip. But he just kept replying with the middle finger emoji like that. So it's like, maybe this isn't so fun for him. So there's been a couple of those, and that's totally fine. Like, I can sympathize, like, you know, maybe you don't want your fuck ups, especially if they're 20 years old, on display for people to laugh at and stuff. So I do try and keep it like not so mean spirited, but occasionally there is a time where people get pissed off, but most of the time that's not the case. Most of the time, I think, again, The Rock and Austin being on the page, like, if they're following it, then it's probably not like a super mean-spirited thing that's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know, I obviously never meant for it to be that way anyway. You always do it just so everyone can have a laugh and be like, "Oh, do you remember when this happened? That's fucking amazing." Like,
yeah, except for most Mongo, I would usually be pretty harsh with Mongo because he was so bad. The well's running dry on bad Mongo. I mean, he had a pretty short career in WCW, so you know, I posted some of the really great Mongo fuck ups early on. So then, you know, where do you go from there? Just kind of, you know,
the Great Khali.
What's that?
The Great Khali.
He's got some pretty bad ones as well. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So Giant Gonzalez is another kind of pretty obscure 90s WWF name, where he's so one of those oversized guys. R.I.P. He died a while back, but at least at the point where he was in WWF in like what 93 3-ish, right around WrestleMania 9.
Yeah,
but yeah, just no business being in a wrestling ring. Some really bad botches out there.
Vince loves his big guys.
He does. It's very true. Very true.
Mm.
So not only the people in the videos commented, and we've made a note like of Austin commenting. And what I love about Austin as well is I've seen him not just comment on clips he's in. I've seen him comment on other people's clips, which is amazing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think that gets, that's another one of those weird points about running the page where, let's say, for example, an indie guy fucks something up really bad. Some of them, maybe as an indie guy that's trying to climb the ranks in the business, like maybe they don't want me putting this out there to my audience where, you know, someone like Austin can laugh at them. So I worry. I'm like, oh my God, you know, this poor indie guy has Austin shitting on him now. But but most of the time, I honestly believe that some of these indie guys send me the bad clips because they don't mind that attention. You know, I guess the old saying that sometimes bad publicity is good publicity. I don't know if it exactly applies here, but sometimes it does. Yeah.
Hey, they get exposure.
Yeah, and sometimes any publicity is good publicity. Excuse me. Yeah,
that's all good.
Yeah.
No, what must have been a real surreal moment to you is the fact that Austin mentioned you on his podcast.
That was really, really fucking cool for sure. I'm in LA. Austin has a place here in LA as well. So naturally I had to try his IPA. I'm not like a big drinker, but I tried his IPA, and we had me and a couple of buddies like completely like Mark style, like we tagged Austin in our like drinking his IPA. Figure, you know what, I'm not going to hit him up for favors on a DM or anything, like he's my best friend, but you know, we both are in LA. He follows the page. I'm trying his IPA. Like we're having a good time. Like we'll tag Austin and we'll tag the local brewery where you can get it. And he put it on his story, which was his Instagram story, which was really, really cool. And went out of his way to send me a message that he totally didn't have to send. It was like super fucking short, but it was like, cheers guys, you know, with like the cheers emoji to drinking his beers. And I was just like, you know what, like that dude does not have to go out of his way to like please any fucking fan at this point. Guy has paid his dues, probably gets hit up 500 times a day by people. So that, you know, just Austin, like taking the time to acknowledge us, like drinking his IPA. I was like, that's really fucking cool. And again, I know I've mentioned The Rock 9 million times, but just seeing him on there, like the couple of times he has left a comment was like a pretty, like, that's one of the biggest movie stars in the world. And he's playing along on my stupid ass wrestling page. Like that's pretty fucking cool to me. So those were definitely surreal moments. Rey Mysterio like has sent me a couple of funny like bad indie clips. So getting that kind of like community support was really cool. Doing no matter how you feel about Sam Roberts, like he's very much in the current WWE ecosystem. Has a comedy show on Sirius XM with Jim Norton, one of the funniest fucking comedians. So Sam invited me on his podcast a couple months ago, was another one of those like, what the fuck am I doing here? You know, the dude has literally interviewed like Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker. Now I'm the guest this week. Like there's little shit like that is like, if that's all that happens when I'm running this stupid page, then that's, you know, pretty big win for me.
I was going to mention that Sam Roberts interview. How did that come about? He literally just sent you a message saying, hey, do you want to come on my show?
Well, he's been following the page for a long time. He's another one of those early adopters that I've seen on the page where I'm like, oh, how the fuck did this guy find out about it? And we have a lot of mutual friends like in real life. So we just got connected that way. And he's like, I'd love to have you on. I was like, I'd love to be on. So I did it.
Dude, that's amazing.
That's awesome. And obviously,
I couldn't even listen back though. I was like a little nervous. Like you know, I think when you post fuck ups all the time, I'm just like, that means that when I do interviews or when I try and come up with a funny caption, that I'm going to misspeak in interviews. I'm going to misspell my caption. I'm going to botch everything in real life. Like, was it earlier this year? No, it was last year I broke my kneecap. I'm a 35-year-old guy. Yeah, so I posted that on my Instagram story too. It's like, hey, I botch shit all the time too, you know?
How'd you do that?
Skateboarding. Yeah, 35-year-old skateboarding, I know. Yeah.
What, up a half pipe or what?
It was at a skate park. And so I moved to California a couple of years ago. And, you know, I grew up on the East Coast of the U.S., the Northeast, where we have these long, like, cold-ass winters. It's like Alaska in the Northeast. It's fucking brutal. So, you know, growing up as a skateboarder, we'd have a really short skateboarding season because growing up really rurally as well, we didn't have any skate parks, and this is forever ago. So, you know, me and all my like little idiot skater friends, you know, you skate in the summer when you can, and if you're lucky, like part of the spring or like early fall. So anyway, my point being is the skaters here on the West Coast, they're really fucking good. Like they have all year. So you'll have these like 14-year-olds that are doing like 360 flips with a fucking blindfold on. So I feel that, you know, going to these parks out here as a 35-year-old dude, usually, you know, I take it easy, but I feel like these young kids that are so good kind of make you push yourself a little bit. And apparently that was just not a good idea. Shout out to my friend Noe, who was with me, by the way, who literally had to like carry me to my car. And I had to get surgery and pins put in. It's like this ridiculous surgery. But yeah, I botch all the time too. I'm not impervious to that type of thing either.
I had an image of you with your helmet on, elbow pads, knee pads.
If I was smart, I would have had all that padding on.
Fuck these kids, I'm doing this safely.
So what I love with your channel is the fact that in the past you've done interviews with wrestlers yourself.
A few, yeah.
Really cool. Like you spoke with Raven, which I was incredibly jealous about.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was really fun. He was super fucking cool. Yeah, it's a weird thing, like talking to these guys about the type of content that I post, you know, which is usually like, if not bad, then something that's like one of those what the fuck type moments. And that was the whole basis of that Raven interview was, I mean, you said you saw it, you know, we talked about a time that a fan literally ripped him out of the ring by his hair. So not a botch per se, but one of those moments that you just can't look away from. And thankfully he was really cool and excited to talk about it. And that's one of those win-win cases where, you know, some of these guys see that I have a pretty big following. So if I post this in the right light and shout out your social media or your podcast or your whatever you're trying to promote, that we can both win on some of those. I felt like that was the case for sure with Raven and Sid as well. I talked to Sid Vicious about his notorious leg break. I've done a few interviews with the indie guys as well. And as long as you know, keep those positive, they can be really a positive thing for those guys as well, helping grow their social media at the very least. And also just showing a human side of them, because we, myself included, we get caught up in some of these clips. Give you a quick example. Indie guy, Marcus Everett, I think he's from maybe Indiana, right around that area. He had an infamous clip a couple of years ago, probably 3 years ago or at this point, where he goes for an elbow drop onto a table from like a ridiculous height, probably almost 3 stories, at least 2, completely whiffs on the table, lands on concrete. And yes, I'll send you guys the clip if you haven't seen it. It's fucking terrifying when you see it. He gets up and he walked away with no broken bones.
What?
Yeah, it was insane. It literally insane. He went to the hospital to get checked out, but totally got away with it. But my point is, when I interview a guy like that and we talk about it and you have a quick conversation and you find out like, hey, this is like a, you know, as you in the UK might say, like, hey, he's a pretty nice bloke. Like, he's a pretty good dude. So you're like, it helps humanize some of these indie guys that maybe do things where you're like, what the fuck was the matter with you? Why would you do that? Yeah. And then you hear him talk about it. And, you know, at the time, I think he was this, you know, 21, 22, like this young indie guy who has probably seen Joey Janela jumping off the building, like into the back of the truck, gets caught up in the moment and does something crazy. And the next thing you know, we're all kind of having some fun with it on the internet. And when he ends up being really cool about it and being like, you know, I got caught up in the moment. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I wouldn't do it again. Here's why it was stupid. And here's why I don't recommend indie guys do it. You're like, you know, that guy is no longer just this silly GIF or whatever that's floating around the internet. He's actually like a real person. So that's been some of the fun, I guess. Sorry to go on a little rant there, but that's some of the fun with interviewing some of these guys. It humanizes some of these clips that we all watch.
Did you manage to get to, when you spoke to Sid, did you talk about the really famous fuck up with, is it Kevin Nash, I think the NWO, where he says that he has half the brain that they do? I
did not talk about his bad promos because for a couple of reasons. For one, every interview I do tries to primarily focus on one topic. So with Sid, I wanted to talk about his compound fracture, you know, when his bone literally popped out of his leg on the WCW Sin pay-per-view. Because it's such and I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it takes a long time for any type of help to come out. Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner, God bless his heart, is there literally doing push-ups while Sid is like screaming in agony. What? Like, it's just like, so I'll focus the interviews around one clip like that. So that's one reason I didn't get to the bad Sid interviews. I did ask him about, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Shockmaster segment. If you're not,
oh yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, if you're not, like, that needs to be the first thing you YouTube when we're done with this. I did kind of manage to sneak in some Shockmaster comments because he was there when that happened. You know, of course, it was more about poor Fred Ottman than Sid. Fred Ottman being the Shockmaster who takes the tumble through the drywall. But yeah, I kind of, for the sake of not being a complete dick to Sid, you know, I told him in advance, you know, hey, this is what I want to talk with you about. And I didn't want to like kind of ambush him with like, hey, remember you fucked up this promo. And another part of that too is because as fun as it is to post the bad promos, I'm a bad public speaker. So it's one thing to kind of post like a funny clip like on Instagram, but for me to like, as a, you know, the interviewer to be like, hey, tell us about the time you fucked up this. It was just like, it felt a little like too mean-spirited. So I held off the promos. Yeah. Or maybe just because I'm a giant pussy and I didn't want him to be like, you know, hey, like, I'll see you at the next WrestleCon. I'm going to fucking powerbomb you or whatever.
I was going to say, there's one person you don't want to piss off, it's Sid.
Yeah, that's another thing is like, I'm very well aware that like, all of these wrestlers like could fucking murder me. And I don't think there's many exceptions to that, you know? So yeah, what can you do?
That clip with Sid's leg, is that the pay-per-view where Road Warrior Animal comes out as a surprise and just sort of timidly goes, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah, so Road Warrior, Sid said that he told me, and we can watch the interview, he said that he was waiting for Road Warrior Animal to come out, and that was like the cue to the truck for him to do the move off the rope, but Animal wasn't coming out for whatever reason, so it fucked up the spot, and that's at least one of the reasons why he said that happened. But yeah, that was the pay-per-view. It was WCW Sin in 2001, I believe, or maybe 2000. No, it must be 2001. Yeah.
It's like one of their last pay-per-views, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that means the 20-year anniversary is next year. We'll have to do something fun for that clip.
Absolutely. That'll be awesome. Absolutely awesome. So when you see wrestlers, so for example, like the Great Khali, when you see wrestlers like that come out, are you like, phenomenal? Absolutely fantastic. Are we watching you like a hawk?
Sort of.
funny you mentioned that. At that Mania that I mentioned I was at the year before last, that was actually the first WrestleMania I had ever attended in person. And all the guys that I was with, shout out to Scott Ratner too from OBB Productions, who's been he's a huge wrestling fan, runs a big production company out here in LA, like total wrestling fan, my age. Help me out getting me tickets to shows, like I remember another one of those surreal moments while I talk about, that type of thing was being at SmackDown at the Staples Center in LA in a private suite that like a few of us had. And I got there early before the rest of the guys. So I remember just like being in my fucking suite, watching The Rock, just kind of looking down on the crowd and being like, how did I get here? This is really, really fucking weird. Why am I telling that story? It sounds like a humble brag now. So seeing, you mentioned seeing someone like the great Khali come out. So anyway, I was at Mania with Scott Ratner and, his buddies that I was meeting, most of them for the first time. And I don't know if you guys remember, but Randy Orton comes out and I'm sorry, not Randy Orton, Batista comes out and it's his first match back in quite a while. And he completely trips entering the ring. Not like a Titus, level trip at full speed, like completely going under the ring.
Beautiful.
But it's a WrestleMania and you're literally almost falling over getting in the ring. Like this is a pretty good botch. And all my buddies that were at Mania with me after that happened just collectively looked over at me. Like, dude. So I run up into there's this concourse area at MetLife Stadium where Mania was. So I just get into business mode where I'm like, all right, got to get this clip, got to get the best quality version of it because we're not right there at ringside for Mania, so I don't want to just post some shitty. Nor do I want to be at WrestleMania for the first time holding a fucking phone the whole time. So. The short answer is no, I'm not anxiously waiting, for, oh yes, so-and-so is coming out. There isn't really a lot of that. We can both kind of name, there's maybe the Great Khali is one of them. If we want to go even more old school, Giant Gonzalez from the early 90s, he's just he's there as an attraction. And maybe that makes sense, at least at the time from Vince McMahon's perspective. He probably knows a lot more about wrestling booking than we do, even though sometimes it's hard to believe. But there are those occasional oh, I wonder if I'm going to get something really good here. But usually it's just organic. It happens when it happens. Titus wasn't known for being the guy that fucks up every day or every match. And then he has that Greatest Royal Rumble botch, which is probably that's Shockmaster level. We may never see a botch that great in the next 10 or 20 years. Just so epic. So yeah, that's kind of the long answer to that. Sorry, a little long-winded there.
No, we love it because we talk so much on the show anyway. We like it when we interview, when you just chat away. We love it. We'll happily sit and listen.
Awesome.
What I love about that Titus botch,
guys.
Yeah.
What I love about a Titus botch is it's good and even the commentators lose their shit.
Say that again, it was cutting out a little.
I said, what I love about that Titus botch is it's good and even the commentators just lose their mind.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, the commentary can play a big role in a botch. A couple of the greatest are, going old school, Tony Schiavone, definitely Jim Ross too, where they're very, very skilled at selling the botch, or maybe no selling the botch, I should say, where they'll get their little comments in there he's a little winded there. That's why he missed that one. But you're right, with that Titus botch, what can you do at that point? You just got to own it and laugh because it's just too epic to try and play it off.
I think Corey Graves lost his shit, didn't he? I think he was gone for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Corey Graves is another big supporter. I met him in person, super nice dude. But he's another one of those early supporters of the page. It's cool to see on there. Rosenberg too.
A phenomenal commentator, Graves. Phenomenal commentator.
For sure.
Yeah, he really helps Michael Cole out.
Yeah. Dude, Michael Cole, man. every time he would call Roman Reigns the big dog, just like so dialed in, the big dog, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah,
stop.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, stop.
It needs to move on now.
I think what's worse than the big dog is it's boss time. No, it's not.
Yeah, and you can, like, most of the time you can tell it's being fed in for him to being fed into his earpiece by Vince or whoever to get all, like, I don't know if you guys saw it a few years ago. There was this memo floating around that leaked, and it was all of the things that Vince McMahon doesn't want the commentators to say. So it's like, you know, instead of wrestling, we say sports entertainment. Instead of I don't know, championship, we say title, or like all these like weird fucking things where it's like, I don't envy being in that commentator position. That's probably a pretty tough gig.
Yeah, I can imagine. I was listening to a podcast from Renee Young, and she was like, I do not miss that. She's like, I used to mute my headphones.
God.
So when you first started, I know you said people have sent you a lot of clips in and stuff like that, but when you first started this, where were you getting all this content? Surely you didn't sit in a dark room just watching wrestling, waiting for people to fuck up.
Well, mostly that now. Yeah. There's so many, like if you go back, the first, like, I don't know, maybe 20 or so clips are mostly just kind of like infamous bad wrestling clips that have been uploaded to YouTube by 97 different people. And at the time also, I was doing a rewatch of a lot of old Raws. I think I started in like 1996 and went up to like 2000 or so. And it's going through that too, where you realize like there's so much gold in here. And by gold, I mean shit sandwiches, basically. It's just a lot of really bad stuff. So a combination of that and just kind of putting a few of the classic ones up, you know, like the Sid mic slips and ones like that. And literally just seeing, will this have legs? Like, will people, you know, find this account? Will the Instagram gods like put it in their algorithm, like on the explore page for people to find it? And if I keep posting daily, like, will it grow? And that's literally it. It's started just like any other Instagram account, you know, literally no one following it in the beginning, you know, 20 or 30 here and there as it grows, you know, then a couple of weeks later, like shit, we're up to a couple hundred, and then just started blasting off. There was one point where it was like 1,000 new followers a day with 0 ads.
Wow.
It's really, really crazy. So I think also when people, and again, at the time, that being the only Instagram page that had wrestling botches, there's a few more that have popped up since then, most of which that just took all the shit that I was putting on my page, which is, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
What can you do? But yeah, it just started organically taking off with those bad clips. And then from there, a whole lot of people sending me clips, which is still the case. Like, and where I've kind of fallen off the wagon the last couple of months, I haven't been posting as much, taking a little bit of a break, just easily hundreds, probably thousands of DMs that I just, like, it's not my full-time job. Like, what I can't, unfortunately, I can't look at bad wrestling all day. I wish I could. But just people submitting clips, usually from people that are even bigger wrestling fans than I am, that watch every fucking minute of it. A lot of guys that watch old school stuff. And that's kind of the beauty of the WrestleBotch community, is there's so many people that, you know, I get messages, I can't see a wrestling fuck up now and not think of your page. And then they'll just send me, you know, hey, check out Clash of the Champions 7, you know, so-and-so, you know, falls off the ropes at this point. So it's like this overwhelming amount of clips now that people send me. A lot of them grab them, I'm sure, from YouTube or the network. But I also get some people that literally have old tape collections that will send me some super, like, rare, great shit that you can't find anywhere. Those are like I love getting those, especially the old school stuff from the 80s that you can't just hop onto the network and find. So yeah, it's a combination of all of those things. I guess not so much me sitting in a dark room watching wrestling, but I mean, kind of started there in a way with some of those for sure.
So was there not one video that literally just was it literally was just the that's the wrong word, like the amalgamation of all the videos you're putting up? It wasn't one particular one that just went and made it fucking fly off.
Yeah, but part of that was a little bit strategic, I guess, too, because the point of me putting those first, whatever it was, 15, 20, 30 videos on there was so that if, for the people that find it really early, that they don't hop on the page and see that there's been 2 videos, because then it's like, is this page going to go away? Are they going to post shit that's actually funny? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
By having, 20 or 30, quality posts, I use that term very loosely, it gives people the opportunity to be like, hey, okay, I like what you're doing with these, and if this page is going to continue in that style, then maybe I'll give it a follow. At least that's what I assume, because that's kind of where it started to blast off.
That's awesome. Where would you like to see this go in the future?
Dude, I don't know. That's a good question. I've talked to a few people that know a lot more about the business side of wrestling than me, which has been another really rad part about running this page, is all the people that I get to mingle with, that friends in real life that I've met that don't actually, we know each other outside of just a bad wrestling Instagram page now. But I don't know, I've heard there was what's it called? There's a show on the network about botches a year or 2 ago. They did one episode.
Botch Club or something?
Yeah, and they had one episode and then it fell off. And I didn't even watch it, but I've heard that, it was WWE sugarcoating what they usually do, so it'll be 30 minutes of people laughing at the tightest botch and nothing else, or, something like that, where they're not so much going to touch some of the scarier botches, or maybe the ones that kind of make the current product to look a little bit sillier than they want it to, which is fair. But I guess what I'm getting at is having a show on the WWE network would obviously be a holy shit, I've arrived type situation. I'm certainly not expecting that whatsoever. That would be a really big one. But I don't know, man, just getting to talk to some of my heroes from when I was a kid in the form of the interviews, and having the Rock and Austin comment occasionally is kind of more than enough for me to be okay, if this all dies tomorrow, it wasn't a complete waste of time, in my opinion.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's been ads here and there too, so I can't pretend that there hasn't been a little bit of money here and there, but certainly nothing to justify quitting a job or anything.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
What's your all-time favorite botch?
I hate that the cliche answer is the Shockmaster segment, but that entire couple of minutes is just a shower of shit. Beyond poor Fred Ottman, eating shit through the wall, which is bad in itself, but you've also got to figure he's look at his attire. He's wearing a fucking Star Wars Stormtrooper helmet that's purple glitter.
Bedazzled, yeah.
Yeah, and this is his debut. So we're going to introduce this character to the world. For some reason, he's wearing a Star Wars Stormtrooper helmet that's sparkly, glittery. As if he could have had a perfectly smooth entrance, and we still would have been who the fuck is this? What are you doing? So not only does he not have that smooth entrance, going through the drywall, falling over, the helmet falling off in that process, you'd think okay, this is pretty epically bad here. But we can also see the rest of the guys in the segment. So we're talking Sid and Bulldog. I think Ric Flair is there. These other guys, they're supposed to be giving a promo before the Shockmaster makes his epic fucked up entrance. And none of them are even looking at the camera. They're looking away from it the entire time. So it's what's going on there? Then after Fred Ottman eats shit, if you crank it up, when I interviewed Sid and replayed this clip, I cranked up the volume on this part so you can kind of hear it, and I added captions as well. But the other guys, you can audibly hear them saying things like, I knew that was going to happen. And like, you can hear Bulldog say, what does he say? It's fucking great with his English accent. Like, oh, fuck, I'm going to misquote it now that I'm on the spot. But something like, he's fooked. Or, you know, something
was it so like he fell on his ass or something like that?
Yeah, he fell on his ass. Like, he fell on his ass. So fucking good. So all of this happens in the span of like a minute or less. I don't know how long it is. So when you talk about like the worst of all time, like I don't know how that can't be in the conversation. Like if not number one, that has to be top three. And then, you know, we talked about the Titus, the slide around the world from the Greatest Royal Rumble, where during his entrance, he not only falls during, I mean, all eyes are on you during the entrance. That's like the one time where, you know, you, at least in the ring, there's generally two or more of you. You know, maybe if you fuck up, some of the attention might go away. Maybe the eyeballs will be on your opponent, whatever. But like when the cameras are there and you're just like running in for that epic entrance and you eat shit, like that in itself is like 10 out of 10 content. And then when you eat shit like at such an epic proportion that you fly under the ring, you're just completely gone. Like, guys, like that's gotta be top 5 minimum, like of all time. Like probably shit, like that's gotta be like maybe top 5 in the last couple of years. Like such a great clip, probably of all time though.
I've always wondered what Vince said to him when he got backstage.
Yeah. There's been some a lot of like little old school ones too. I've mentioned this one before, but there's a clip from old Clash of the Champions with Tom Zink, and so the Z-Man and who I think he's wrestling like I'm gonna butcher it. It's this really kind of random match from an early Clash of the Champions, but anyway, Z-Man goes for a crossbody off the top rope, and there's just absolutely no one home, like just completely misses it. And the camera's perfect because the camera's like panned away, so you see it so perfectly where the guy's just diving into absolutely nobody. That's just little ones like that. I literally have thousands of clips saved, so it's hard to choose a favorite, but those are a few of them for sure.
I think my favorite one is Shawn Michaels on Raw when he has that jacket and gets caught in the ramp.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. But he sells it so beautifully afterwards. Just fucking love HBK.
Yeah, so he had some chains or something. He always had like kind of like this, I think it's like this weird like Hot Topic like pants with like chains and straps all over the place. So when he tried to get cute during his entrance on the ramp, because you know the ramp has these holes in it, you know, it's like this metal like graded thing, so you know it's not exactly a completely leveled flat surface. So when he was like, I don't know what he was doing, like fucking humping the ramp or
he was
something like kind of obnoxious and completely backfires. His chains get caught. The chains from his pants get caught in the entrance ramp, and he gets completely stuck.
So funny.
I did a fun compilation with a few kind of similar clips like that, where it's like wardrobe malfunction. So going back to The Rock getting his jack or his t-shirt cut. You know, there's that one with Michaels getting that cut. There's one, who was it? One of the current females had like, she got like her cape caught like on her entrance and is trying to enter the ring and just like reefing on it and go. So yeah, the wardrobe malfunctions are always really fun.
Going back to the Shockmaster just quickly, what I love is
anytime.
I think it was last
back to the Shockmaster.
I think it was last year Mattel released the Shockmaster action figure, and the figure was upside down in the packaging, like it's fallen through.
I love it. Yeah,
wonderful.
Great marketing. Very, very smart.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. At the same time, poor Fred Ottman. You know, how long ago was that? Like late 80s, early 90s, actually. like almost 30 years ago, and the dude still got action figures coming out. Like, I bet when Titus O'Neil saw that coming out, he's just like, fuck, you know? I've got a rough couple of decades ahead of me.
Didn't Shockmaster debut afterwards, like actually wrestling, but looked nothing like that?
Yeah, he looked similar. He had like a hard hat, like a
he had like a hard hat on, yeah.
And they actually tried to play into the gimmick a little bit of him falling, because there's another clip of him trying to come in over the metal barricade around the ring, and he completely falls over. And I wasn't a huge WCW fan at the time, so I didn't know a ton about the Shockmaster other than, you know, the obvious epically bad debut. But I almost posted another one of him falling over that barricade before, you know, I did my homework on the Shockmaster and realized they tried to kind of write that storyline for a little while.
Which makes sense, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go up at that point. So I guess, you know, the only thing you can do is play into it.
Wonderful. Before we move on, Tom, have you got any other questions you wanted to ask?
No, that's all I've got.
I just wanted to, before we wrap this up, during my research, did I see you have a record label?
Yeah, I actually have a couple of them. That sounds impressive, but they're both very much indie labels. And at
still
this
impressive.
Point, we do primarily reissues. So one of the labels is called Think Fast. Started by a business partner of mine. Larry started it forever ago. I think it was like 2001. And at the time, we were primarily doing like hardcore and punk rock and some metal. Nowadays, we mostly do reissues, and mostly on the metal side. So like in the last few years, we did like Deicide, like a death metal band. We've done Strapping Young Lad, Dark Tranquility from Sweden. But, you know, it's kind of always like, we'll probably be known as a hardcore label, hardcore and punk rock, because it's a lot of the early stuff that we did. My other label is called War God. We do reissues as well, mostly like soundtracks and 90s alt rock reissues. So we're doing stuff like Sponge and Fuel and Eve 6. On the soundtrack side, like we just did a 20th anniversary of The Sopranos on vinyl, like the Rolling Stones and the Kinks and stuff like that. I'm a big Tarantino fan. We did the soundtrack to True Romance a couple of years ago, which was really fun. It's a Tony Scott film, but written by Tarantino. So we did like this really cool, like limited box set based off some of the characters in that movie. Amazing movie. If you guys are fans of like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, it's got that Tarantino trademark writing all over it, but great fucking movie. So yeah, doing the labels, mostly soundtracks, and you know, a few releases a year. But yeah, it's been fun.
That's really fucking cool. I just going through, I was like, oh, he does all this WrestleBotch. I was like, what is a record? Runs a record label as well. That's amazing.
The number of people I've met through WrestleBotch that are also working in the music industry is really, really funny. Like dudes that I'm meeting through my page. So it's like we're meeting because of our love of usually old school wrestling, and you know, here we are, like, you know. So that's another important aspect that I'll point out about my page, at least for me personally, is like, because it's a lot of content that is difficult to monetize, because it's, you know, a WWE clip, even if it's 5 seconds of a 4-hour pay-per-view, it gets into kind of these muddy waters when you're trying to run ads and whatnot. So using my platform to literally network with other people, like in my actual professional life, is like a real thing that's happened. So just another one of those like really cool takeaways that, you know, has kind of set itself up. And I didn't realize there were so many, you know, old school wrestling fans that were involved in the entertainment industry. It's really fucking cool.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. So before we get out of here, what we like to play a little game with our guests.
Sure.
We call it the quick fire round, and it's literally we just ask you 6 questions, answer them as quick as you can. Nice and simple.
Sound like I'm going to get in trouble here. Let's go.
No, you're fine. Don't worry. They're nothing too bad. Question 1: favorite pizza topping?
Okay, so this is I know the joke. Vegans always love to talk about that they're vegan. So I'm vegan. Prior to being vegan, I would eat like meat lovers pizzas. So like bacon, you know, hamburger, meatball, chicken, and just like these dead animal pizza. It's like, oh, just a smorgasbord. Nowadays, you know, I know the cliche. For the record, I was vegan before I moved to LA, and it's like a thing. You know, you move here and become vegan. Now I'm a veggie guy, so let's go like jalapenos or something.
Oh, great choice.
Oh, look at that. You're one Tom back again.
Vegetables, what the fuck is wrong with you? Gross.
Favorite WrestleMania main event?
That's tough. Can I go with like worst Mania match instead?
Go on then.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
You're the guest.
Giant Gonzalez Undertaker WrestleMania 9.
Yeah, that was fucking awful.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Best Mania main event's a tough one. I'm kind of partial to WrestleMania 5 because it was one of the first VHS tapes I ever got, the Mega Powers Explode. So at the time, not knowing a lot about wrestling, but somehow that VHS floating around our collection, I was very invested in the Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, you know, that whole angle with Miss Elizabeth in the late 80s, early 90s. So that main event, you know, Hogan coming out on top, you know, defeating Savage at the time, as like a young Hulkamaniac, that's like a pretty cool thing to see at the time. So it's kind of a, I don't know, boring answer, but maybe that would take a cake for main event.
It's an incredible match. Favorite cartoon growing up?
The Simpsons.
Oh, yes. Great answer.
Again, I don't know if you're noticing a trend, but old Simpsons. After like season, I don't know, like 11, 12, maybe they kind of started to fall off a little bit, but give me seasons like 2 through 10 all day. Great stuff.
Classic, absolute classics.
Favorite snack food?
Oh, shit. I don't know. What's the generic vegan answer? Hummus? I don't fucking know.
Celery sticks and hummus.
Yeah, here's the thing. I eat a lot of avocado toast, which is a very cliche vegan answer, but
Still delicious.
it's the fucking truth. You got to get that superfood in there, and avocados
right.
it for me. Yeah.
So good.
Who would play you in a movie of your life?
Oh, Jesus. These are good questions, guys. I wish I had like rapid fire answers.
We should probably change the title of the quiz.
The long fire round.
I don't know, man. I don't know who would play. I loved Office Space. I loved that whole going into your shitty office job and hating life and trying to like find that escape like Peter Gibbons in Office Space. So maybe, and he has, by the end, you know, he ends up finding something that he's happy with. But I feel I was always very partial to, you know, people that are working desk jobs that they fucking hate and you're just doing that grind. So Office Space always stuck out at me where, you know, that one guy is just like, what the fuck why am I listening to this asshole boss? Why do I hate my life so much? You know, one of those things.
Love that film so much.
Yeah, maybe Office. I don't know if that answers the question, but Office Space is probably up there. So maybe Peter Gibbons, which would be Rod Livingston is the actor who played him. I don't know if he played it in real life. It's sort of my situation, but yeah, it's up there.
So obviously you said you interviewed people about a certain botch in their career. Who would be your dream guest?
I'd love to get Austin. I don't dare to ask because I'm like afraid he'll say no or ignore me and I'll feel really sad for a minute. But I'd love to talk to Austin. He's got a few good botches that we could talk about. So just talking to Austin in general, I think it'd be really fun. And the fact that he has a good sense of humor, or so it seems, following the page and commenting other clips, sometimes commenting on his own clips and stuff like that. I'd love to have like a 10-minute conversation, you know, drinking some beers and talking about some bad wrestling. That would be up there for sure.
It's like Dr. Pepper, Ryan. What's the worst that could happen?
Say it again.
It's like Dr. Pepper. What's the worst that could happen? Just ask
What
him.
happened with Dr. Pepper?
Oh, I don't know if it's a slogan in America, but here it's Dr. Pepper, what's the worst that could happen? It's a little joke I like, but it obviously fell flat on its ass.
I didn't know that was the Dr. Pepper. That's an interesting tagline.
Yeah, that's the Brits just think it's funny to put what's the worst that could happen.
Yeah, in this case, I think what's the worst that could happen would be, you could just tell me to fuck off or something. But yeah, I don't know. I think the fact that a lot of those guys have gone out of their way to follow me, I don't want to be that guy that like pretends that they're my homies now and, hey, like I see you follow the page, which is already doing the page a big favor. Other people see that and the algorithm sees that and the page grows. So I just don't want it to come off like, hey, you already did this one thing for me. Now that I have access to your DMs because you follow the page, like, now can you do this other thing for me? And I think to get on my soapbox a little bit, or at least like get on the marketing side a little bit, from running the labels, especially early on, you constantly get people asking you for things. Hey, can you check this out? Can you check this out? And most of the time it's harmless, but I have a couple of other gigs as well. Like one's a side hustle, and there's, without sounding like a douche, like I have people coming at me from different angles all day about different things, like requests and can you do this? Can you get this done? Hey, can you look at this? And it, after a while, like, and that's me speaking from my, small position that's nowhere near what some of these famous wrestlers have seen or what they're seeing, even after their careers. So I can't even imagine like how many times they get hit up a day about like, things that are also like so-and-so's cancer charity and you don't, what's legit, what's not. It's just it's a fucking tough place to be in. So I don't want to, put that on them and then at the same time make myself just kind of feel like a dickhead when they don't respond.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough, man. I mean, I wasn't being like, do it, like forcing you, but
of course,
it must be fucking awful.
Yeah, now to go back on that, I will say early on, I did hit up Jericho about, I can't remember what the clip was, but he had like one like pretty epic fuck up that was like kind of funny. And I hit him up about it. It was like something like, would you be open to having a quick conversation about this? Got right back to me, was really cool. He's like, to be honest, I don't even remember like that spot. So I don't know, like, if it would make the basis for a good interview. But it was cool that he got back to me, and got back to me on the spot and whatnot. So yeah.
Apply to him.
Sweet.
Wonderful. Right, cool. Before we get out of here, please plug any social medias, anything you want people to go check out.
Just check out WrestleBotch. One word, WrestleBotch on Instagram. There's also a Facebook page that's kind of been taking on a life of its own, especially this year. So you can find that at the same place. Just search WrestleBotch on Facebook or go to facebook.com/WrestleBotch and it will pop up. So you can find me there. I guess I should probably tell people, since sometimes, like I'm experiencing on Twitter, sometimes these accounts can disappear and might need to come back under a different name. So you can always go to WrestleBotch.com and I'll keep that up to date if I disappear somewhere and you need to find me somewhere else. But that's about it. I had a lot of fun. Like I told you guys, I love chatting bad wrestling. I think it's fun. So I really appreciate you guys having me on. It was really cool.
It was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been real good fun.
Yeah, guys, take care. Thanks again.
You too, Ryan. Thank you, mate.
Cheers, my
really
friend.
All right, have a good one later.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.